Hello everybody, FCS2 or Futures. They're both good, and I will totally accept what anyone has to say about why they choose one over the other. It's a personal choice at the end of the day, but I'm going to talk to you about the pros and cons of both plugs and why I prefer one to the other. Take a look, sit back and enjoy the show. Okay, so before we start, I thought I'd go through a brief history of the fin plug. So it kind of came in and got popular around the mid-90s, and it came about from board shapers having to glass fins on, being quite laborious, people losing their fins, wanting to change fins in a board. So boxes came along. FCS were the first company to do it with a 2-tab system. Not the strongest, some fins used to break out. So Futures came along, an American company, put the whole base of the fin in the board. Suddenly you had a stronger option. And then FCS said, hey, hold on a minute, we need to think about this. They redesigned their box. In came the FCS2, and it has a click in, click out system with 2 longer tabs to alleviate the problems they were having with FCS1. And there you have it, the 2 leading most popular fin boxes on the market today. Firstly, I'm going to go through the pros, the reasons why I think these plugs are really, really good. So starting with the Futures box. Now you'd have to say that the biggest plus, the whole base of the fin goes in the box. So you've got the most amount of connection to the board with the base of your fin. There's very, very little gap. This is a twin fin I'm showing you, a big fin, and there's a very, very small bit of fin sticking out of the box. So most of the fin is engaged with the board. The other thing about Futures is during the install of the plug, so for a board builder like myself, installing this plug into the board, I would say it takes less skill to do a good job when you install the Future box. There's better tolerances in the lip of the plug and the angles that the box can go into the board, which makes it easier for me, a board builder, to apply this correctly into a board without then having future problems within the build process. So that's something that I really, really like about the Futures box. Due to the patents with Futures boxes, you are allowed to have aftermarket brand fins, so they don't have to be real Futures fins, which opens up price points and choices that you can have within the fin box. So I think that's a really, really good pro to Futures. You don't just have to have Futures fin. This is a fin that we designed here from the Beyond range. It's a lot cheaper. It's made in all the same factories as the real branded ones, so you get a good quality fin, but you're not paying for all the marketing, so it's a lot cheaper. And I think that's a brilliant option that Futures make easy for other brands to put in their boxes. Another great thing I think about Futures boxes is how easy the fin is to take in and out the box and how secure it is in there. There's a small hook at the back of the box. You slide your fin in, push it down into the box, and then you screw it, bang. And if you want to take it out, unscrew it, lift it out, your fin's out. It's nice and safe when it's in the board. It's not going to go in walkies, and it's nice and quick to take in and out. And also, being that all the base is in the fin, you've got less chances of the fin cracking from pressure of turns or hitting things. It's usually a bit stronger. They have sort of de-weighted a lot of the bottom of the boxes, which does make it a little bit weaker, but still, I'd have to say that a Futures fin, pound for pound, is stronger than an FCS2 fin. Okay, so the pros when we talk about the FCS2 box, for me as a board builder, are that the box is smaller. I love the fact that the box is smaller because that means I'm changing my surfboard less after I've shaped it to apply these. I'm taking less foam out of the board to stick these in, less curve, you know, as my rocker kind of curves away and I'm putting in a long straight plastic thing like a Futures box, it can be taken away, that curve, and I have to install the plug a little bit deeper. But because the FCS2 box is nice and short, I don't have to worry about that so much. I think it's a brilliant design. The other thing I really like is the way the peanut shape changes the load of the pressure of the box against the board, meaning that this fin plug, once in your board and laminated properly, should have way less wear and tear than a Futures box with a sheer hard edge. So in theory, an FCS box should work for longer against your board's integrity. Following the theme of installation for the board builder, you use less resin as well. When you apply the FCS2 box into the board, it takes less resin to stick inside the board, which means it's saving weight. So the box is smaller, you use less resin, you take away less board. That means that the FCS plug is doing less than a Futures plug to change the integrity and performance and weight and flex of your surfboard. The range of fins is vast with FCS2. There is so many options of fins, of constructions, and they have a price point of FCS fins where you can buy a really, really good fin for 60 quid all the way to 140 quid. Whereas Futures fins, the actual Futures branded fins, they tend to start around 90 quid up to about 140. So you don't have that lower level that's really, really good quality. The argument is that because Futures boxes do allow aftermarket fins in their boxes, that you can get cheaper options that are just as high quality. But in terms of range for range, I really think that the FCS2 range of fins on price point and design and construction is vast and superior to that of Futures. Now, when you're installing the box of an FCS2, the boxes come with pre-agreed angles of fin. So when your fin is in the box, a shaper is choosing the angle that the fin is to the bottom of your board. Now, you have three options on the boxes: 3 degrees, 5 degrees and 9 degrees. And out of those options, you can choose to maybe rock a 9 to make it 10. You can maybe rock a 9 to make it 8. You can maybe rock a 5 to be 6, a 5 to be 4, and so on and so forth. It gives you lots of options without the box having to be really, really skewed over to one side. Now, the Futures box, you do have to move because the angles tend to be on the base of the fin, so it gives the shaper less control of the angle that he wants the fin to be in the board, especially if you're choosing different sets. So I do like the control shapers have on the splay of the fin on an FCS2 box. I think that's a really, really good feature. And lastly, with FCS2, when you are routing the hold for the box, it's just very simple. I would argue that it's more simple routing a box and more accurate and simple routing the hole for the FCS2 plugs with a jig than it is with the Future setup that is a bit more technical. Okay, so now I want to talk about the problems with both boxes. Now, I just want to reiterate, I know in the comment section they're probably just going to come at me for different opinions. These are just my opinions. I make surfboards, I have done for 16 years, and over the course of that experience that I've had, I have come to find the problems with both boxes, and why I find one at the end. I'll tell you the video why I find one better than the other, but I'll go through some of the problems. Now, for me, big part of the problem with the Futures is that when you are routing it out, the box, it's a little bit complicated to be accurate. It is easier to plonk in the board and not do the job badly, but when you're putting the box in, you use quite a lot of resin to hold into the board, so that makes the weight a problem. It also means that the edges of the box, because they're such sheer hard edges and then they're encased in resin, quite a lot of resin holding the top of the plugs in, so there's a sharp edge along here of resin and a sharp edge at the bottom along resin. What happens is when you're using the whole base of your fin against the box, it's micro moving your box inside the board. Surfers that are putting a lot of torque into their turns, and it doesn't always happen to every board, but usually if you see an old Futures board that's been used a lot, the box will just have the tiniest bit of movement in the back where the box shear edge has just created a little void in the softer foam that it's inserted into. And also, because Futures uses so much resin, I don't like the fact that it's a long thing adding weight to your board that takes away tail flex. And it's almost, in the weirdest way, a Futures box is too strong for your surfboard. So when you see cracking and anything from a Futures box, it's because it's just a big lump of hard stuff, again, inside a soft board with a malleable glass job. So some of the cracks can actually come from the box being solid. Like, do not get me wrong, the Futures box is absolutely solid in your board. So overall, I think that the Futures box, it just lacks a bit of intuitive design. It hasn't moved on. The FCS box, FCS decided, hey, the two-tab system that we had previously wasn't good enough, so here's our next version, the FCS2. Futures have been Futures. They haven't really changed the key problems that are, it's plastic against foam, it's loads of resin, so it makes it heavier in your board. So I'd love to see from Futures a new design, because I do have my own little ideas as to what could make a Futures box better. Okay, so the FCS2 box. Now, one of the problems that all board builders will come across with FCS2, some love them, some hate them, are that there is very, very little tolerance So it's easy to route the hole to put the box in, but it's really, really hard to get the exact angle you want whilst making sure that the plug is level with the board surface, or just under level with the board surface, so you can get a decent amount of fiberglass over the box without sanding that back off, because the box's edge is sticking up slightly. So you'll see a lot more human error when it comes to the install of an FCS2 box, because they are harder to put in because the tolerance levels are smaller. Now, that shouldn't be a problem. Hypothetically, as a professional board builder, I do not want to do anything when I'm building a board wrong, but if I'm gonna, it could be on inserting my FCS2 box into a board that maybe has an extreme amount of concave into the rails, or over a short span of concave or channels. These are harder to put in and get right the first time. So I think that Futures wins in that area. That it's easier to put in correctly and strongly, whereas these, it's quite meticulous and you have to be really, really careful. And there's some designs that you just have to change the box. You have to sand down some of the box sometimes, and it's a faff. And yeah, ultimately you're trying to make a board really, really strong and last well. You don't want to see cracking outside of it because you've sanded through some of the glass job because you couldn't get your fin box properly. So that's one of the negatives of FCS2. But board builders, do better, because we should be able to get them in perfectly. The next problem I have with FCS2 boxes is the whole point of its design, the click in and click out fin system. If you put the box in too low, the fin won't click. If you put the box in too high, the fin won't click in properly, and you're going to have issues with losing fins. Also, do we really need a click in, click out fin system? Do we need one? What's the point? A Futures fin takes a couple of seconds to take out. An FCS2 fin, yeah, takes a couple of seconds, but the reality is none of us change our fins in the water, so let's just put a screw in an FCS2 fin, keep it secure, then you don't have to worry about losing the fin. I've only lost one fin. When I lost it, I don't know what happened. I just went surfing and I didn't hit it. It just must not have been in the box properly. So from now, when I surf, I just quickly check my fins, I go in, but if I just put a screw in it, in the back of the FCS plug, it takes away the problem. So I don't understand building the marketing around click in, click out, because to be honest with you, it isn't as safe. You do lose fins. Now, I've heard the argument about you don't damage the board as much if you are going to knock a fin out if it's quick release, but you could still damage it. So I think that it's a bit silly. Sorry, FCS. Yeah, for me, the FCS plug is very little tolerance when inserting the board to make sure that the board's built really, really well, and thus you see more issues with build quality on FCS2 plugs. And the fact that it's click in and click out and people lose fins all the time, or more than they lose Futures, should I say, is an indicator to me that that design element needs to change. Now, those being said, going through all the pros and cons of the boxes, of which there are many, what is my favourite? What do I use? FCS2. It's not because I hate Futures. It's not because I hate Futures. I think Futures are a really good box. And I love some of the fin setups that you can get from some of the shapers like Ryan Lovelace and our Beyond range, where they're aftermarket fins. And if I want to use those fins, then I will put Futures in my board because I want to use those fins. But the reason I prefer FCS2 is for the things I mentioned in terms of the board's performance and integrity. They're lighter when they go in the board. They have a HD foam built around the box, which takes away some of the, the rocking from your fin going back and forth. Also, the peanut shape alleviates that pressure into one hard edge, which again makes it stronger for longer if it's installed correctly. And those things, for me, mean that I feel like my board's going to perform better. The integrity of my board and design is going to change less by putting in an FCS2 plug in as it would a Futures plug. And the problem I have with FCS2 about the quick release, then just stick a screw in the back and my problem's not there anymore. If you look at the list of WSL world champions, there's something like 90% in the last 10 years have been on FCS plugs, and I think like maybe it's over 90% since FCS2 plugs have been invented in terms of the champions that have been riding them, and I think that's because they do feel a little bit better in performance. So when you're picking your next board, FCS or Futures, up to you. I would go with FCS2, but if you've got a load of Futures fins already and fins that you love and they're on a Futures base, do not feel weird about continuing with Futures. They're not bad plugs at all. I'm not saying that. I think these are both brilliant products. If the stars aligned and everyone could see sense, and you took a Futures box and its good characteristics of the long base in the board, and then the FCS box with its peanut shape and shorter outline, and you moulded them together, I think you'd have an even better box. So guys, sort it out, get together, let's come up with something for the good of surfing. Ooh. Right, hope you've enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, subscribe, comment down below what's your favourite plug. Tell me why you hate one or the other and why you love the other one. I want to hear it. I'll have a good chat with you in the comments about it. And also, if you want to see what I've spoken about written down, I have got a blog post which I've put on the collabsurf.com website, so you can go through and I've written down all the pros and cons and in between and discussion. So if you want to get on there and comment, you're more than welcome, and you can have a little read of it as well. So anyway, cheers for watching if you still are. Tune in next time, and that's shakas from me.